Hi everyone, it's Nicole and I'm here with another layout. I'm going to play today. I have exactly 1 hour before I have to go for an appointment. So I just took this page kit out. Didn't have to dig for, pictures and embellishments. I only had an hour and I just grabbed a page kit. Now I did, where I am home, I decided to add some stuff to it. More like tools. Some templates, which if I was going to a crop, I would have added some templates, to use. And I don't think it really matters which types of template it is, as long as I have templates. And I brought in some stamps that I've never used before, and I was so excited when I bought them. And this was like 4 years ago, and I've never used them. And it's like splotches. And it's by My Favorite Things, and this is Jumbo Abstract Art, and this is Abstract Art. So as you can tell, this is a scrap, and it's from Crate Paper, the Hello Love series or collection, and it looks like paint swabs. That's what it reminded me of. So I might not even use this paper. This was more like the inspiration. And then this is the photo, and this is a sheet art that I had done years ago, like probably 10 years ago, maybe a long time ago. And this is again scraps. This is from I think this is Crate Paper, maybe, no, Cartabella Rough and Tumble, because it's thick. That's how I can tell it's not Crate Paper. And Echo Park Happy Days. I want to use those flowers, and I have a couple scraps of that. Might use the other side, who knows. And this is, the rest is just stuff that I had put with this specific kit. This is a handmade embellishment that I had done a few weeks back, and this is perfect. Like happiness is homemade, and that was homemade. And the mason jar kind of makes me think of homemade stuff. And then there's a wood veneer. And this is the last thing that I've bought myself. And I bought all the Distress Oxides. This is new from Ranger back in January. And I decided to get them, all 12 of them. And I'll get the refills a little bit at a time, but that was my last purchase before I go on my part-time adventure. And so I want to use them right away. So I based my colors on the background. And again, I was way over there when I did it, so maybe the teal would have been better. But I'm going to put you on fast forward anyway, so I might change this. I don't think there was 2 teals, but it doesn't have to be. Actually, I think this scheme fits better in my paper, and I think that's why I did that. It fits better this, and it fits better. It fits okay with this too, so I'll keep those. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some clear gesso on my background. This is just a white cardstock. And I'm going to put you on fast forward because they're working on our road here, so all you can hear is the trucks and the beep beep beep, the backing up. So it's kind of loud and annoying. So I'll just put you on fast forward, and then I'll do a voiceover. And like I said, I have an hour, so I'm gonna stop chatting and start actually doing this page, so maybe I can get this page done before I go for my appointment. And so I'm going to put you on fast forward. Okay, so like I said, I put on fast forward, and I'm just going to do the voiceover. So the first thing I did is I'm going to put some clear gesso down just to protect the background, and it does a couple of things. It makes a barrier between your inks and your paper, but I find the colors that you use after are so much more vibrant. They don't get sucked into the cardstock or the pattern paper, so you get a truer color, and that's what I like, because really this is clear on white, so it's not really to change the color of the pattern paper or anything like that. But for me, it was more so the colors would be truer. Now this is a stamp set that I bought 3-4 years ago when we had gone to the Boston. So that would be like 3 years ago. And I had found a scrapbook store that wasn't far from our campground. And I had bought these stamp sets. Now, while I'm stamping these Distress Oxides, in which in this video, I'm just going to use them as inks to stamp. Like I'm not using the Oxide part. I think I spray a little bit of water on it, but I just wanted it for like an ink because it was just so vibrant and I love the way the finish is. So let's talk a little bit about these new Distress Oxide. They're new from Ranger, and these were the first 12 colors, and they just announced it on June 25th or something that there's 12 more colors, and Ranger has decided to make colors, the Distress Oxide, in all their colors. And the next 12 colors are so pretty. Like I love those colors. So I'll probably get them very slowly, just get once in a while. So the Distress Oxide, it's a fusion between dye and pigment ink. So it's not a dye ink and it's not a pigment ink. They've sort of combined them and made this Oxide ink. It has a chalk look finish, which I love. And if you rub over top, it doesn't rub off. So I love that. You can stamp on any color surface. So it'll still show up on black, for example, which I love. You can seal with the microglaze that they sell separately if you don't want to take away the chalk look. You can mix the Oxide and the Distress ink, and when you mix them, if it's wet on wet, it'll blend, and if it's wet on dry, then it layers. So wet on wet, it'll blend, and wet on dry, it'll layer. Now I'm going to play with those again, I'm sure. Like I said, this time I just wanted to use them as a stamping ink, and I just loved how vibrant these colors are. And like I said, it was the first time I played with them, so that's what I decided. I want to make it look like paintbrushes. And the picture that I'm scrapping, it's one of those sheet arts that I can't remember her name, but you could take her classes. And this was like, I don't know, a long time ago. Like over 10 years ago that I did that, and that's when I really started liking mixed media, and that's one that I had done for one of my daughters, and I had taken pictures of them. So I took a stencil and I added some modeling paste just as a different texture. Now I'm taking another stencil, and I showed you the Distress ink that I use, and it was like a gray, and I'm just putting a little foam dabber, and I'm adding some X's like it was stitched, and I'm just adding some cover there so that it doesn't color in anything else from the template. I wanted to just have those stitches, so I'm making a mask. So I'm putting those stitches in 3 spots, and that's where I'm going to do the clusters. Now, one thing I wanted to do is on that sheet art, there is layers and layers of different paints and rub-ons and stencils and modeling paste, and it's so fun to do. And the rub-ons that I'm using right now are from Stampin' Up, and I use some of those directly on that sheet art also. So, and the best thing about that is, you know, a lot of times we are so upset when the rub-ons don't rub off nicely. Well, on that kind of art, it doesn't matter. The messier, the better. So if you saw, I'm not being careful. I'm just taking the rub-on and just rubbing on only part of it, and I really like the look of that. Now I wanted to do a little bit more of that modeling paste, so I took one of my stencils that were of a flower, and at this point I'm going to walk away because it does take a bit of time to dry. So I just like to, instead of taking the heat gun, I just like to walk away and then let it dry. I do hit it with the heat gun for a little bit, but it still doesn't dry enough, so I walk away and I come back. So this is probably like the next day. And I actually did this layout. It's funny because at the beginning of the video I talk about going to an appointment, and it was for a massage, and this was in June, and today's July 4th, so that was on June 6th, and today, July 4th, I had another appointment today, and for a massage. So it's kind of funny that I did this layout a month ago and I'm doing the voiceover for it today, which this will only go up tomorrow on July 5th. So I just want to wish, I know this is going to go up on the 5th, but I just want to wish all my American friends happy Independence Day, and I hope that your day was filled with fun and treats and fireworks. And so anyway, back to the layout. I put on those rub-ons, and then I added some of that modeling paste, and now I want to color those flowers. I want them to stand out a little bit, so I'm adding some distress inks onto some packaging, and I'm adding some colors to the flowers. And then I grabbed a few stamp sets. Some of them is just like a grid. The other one was like writing, and I'm just stamping it everywhere, just making it look kind of messy. And then I mounted the photo on some pattern papers, and I think pretty much everything in this paper kit was leftovers, like scraps from other layouts, not leftovers like from after supper. So that, I have to say, that is my favorite way to scrapbook, is with scraps from other layouts. And when I make page kits, I have this little container, and as I finish the page kits, I throw that in that little container, and then I have a spot for my pattern paper. And then once I go through X amount of page kits, I take whatever I didn't use on these layouts, and then I make some more page kits together with that. And I found that since I started doing that, I'm using a whole lot more of my embellishments. I'm finishing off embellishments. I'm finishing off pattern papers. And I just find that I'm getting a lot of use out of all my supplies. So what we're going to do this month is starting tomorrow, which will be July 6th, will be the first day that you'll see me put the kit together, and then the page kits, and then we're going to scrap all those pages, and then we'll see how many pages we can get done and how we can re-kit from that. So that'll be coming up for the rest of the month. These are all, up to this was all pages that I had done in the last month, and I was kind of stockpiling them so that in July that I would have sort of a head start with all for all these videos. Now that everything is dried, everything is the way I like it, I'm going to start gluing everything down. And I had this wood veneer that is huge, and I've had it for a long time. I think it came in one of the hip kits, and I never got to use it, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to use it. And it's so big that I put wet glue underneath, and I had to hold it for a good minute or two to make sure that it was going to glue down, because it was having a hard time connecting with the paper. And then I did also use a flare that I had put together in one of my DIYs, and I'm going to put some 3M foam in behind one of the embellishment, the one that says something about homemade. And I'm going to use some mason jars again. This was a pattern paper. I believe it was an Amy Tangerine pattern paper, and it was just filled with mason jars, and I cut them all apart and it was in one of my little iris containers, and when I was putting these page kits together way back, I just went through it and said, okay, let's use up some of these embellishments, and now it's on a page. So one of the rub-ons said the story of, and I knew I wanted to make that part of my title, and I just don't know what I want to do yet. So I went into my stash and got these Cosmo Cricket stickers. Yes, that's what it is. And it's all about art. So I'm putting little words around the page that is related to art. And I'm just finding a spot in each of the embellishment clusters for that. And then for the title, I'm just going to grab some little tiny letters, and I'm just going to spell out art. And these are, I believe, yes, these are basic gray. And I'm just using one of the backing of the 3M tape to put my letters on it. And there's so much mixed media there that I'm going to have to take some glue and glue those down, because they will not stay. Even though they're sticky, there's just too much mixed media. There's, you know, the gesso, there's the ink, then there's modeling paste, so it needed something else. And now I'm going to add some little drops, and I think that's going to complete this layout. Now I wanted to ask you a question. I'm running out of TV shows to watch, so in the comments below, please let me know some of your favorite TV shows so I can binge watch them on Netflix. And if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit subscribe, and if you're enjoying these videos, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.